Hi everyone, this is Leon Erelim from Ascension Wisdom channel in English and Educação Consciencial channel in Portuguese. And today I'm talking to Corey Goode. Hi Corey, how are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Good, good. Always nice talking to you. Thank you very much for your time. And we are very excited to having you in Brazil in September.
I'm looking forward to it. I had a blast last time. Um, where was it that we went last time? I can't remember that resort.
Florianópolis is
Yeah,
south of Brazil in 2020.
yeah, it was beautiful. The people were awesome, very friendly, very knowledgeable about all of these subjects. So,
Yeah,
looking forward to uh, reconnecting.
sure, sure. It would be great. So Corey will be with us in September 21st, 22nd in São Paulo. This time for the Despertar 2.0 event. It's only in Portuguese, unfortunately, for people who only speak English. But anyways, Corey, I'm going to start our talk focusing on people who might not know your story and not know you. So I have a short bio from your website, spherebeingalliance.com. So it is said here, and you can comment a little bit. I'm going to ask you a few things. Identified as an intuitive empath, Corey Goode was recruited through one of the My Lab programs at a young age of 6. And Goode trained and served in the My Lab program from 1976 until 86 or 87. Let's start talking about this. So. Um, how was it? So you're just 6 years old and you were recruited. So how does it work?
Well, they identified people through some sort of, they were coming out with standardized testing, the computer-based testing, and they were basically, our school was like a satellite of where they were testing it before they implemented it statewide. And little did we know, it was also being used by the government to uh, look for anomalous people or people who have certain abilities. Somehow they engineered a way to tell if a person was likely to have abilities. And then they would send a kind of like a teacher, but I don't know what you would call them, but someone from the school district that would come out and whatever, if there was like one kid or three kids at that school that showed possible abilities, they would then meet with them. The lady who met with me was named Miss Hill, and then they put you through another testing process, one-on-one, and then they determine if you have the abilities, and if you do, they somehow arrange it to where you're put into some sort of program that is an extracurricular program that allows you to be taken from school a certain amount of days a week and taken on field trips and to work with other gifted or whatever children, whatever you're identified as. And then what they really do is they secretly take you to a military base and train you and test you and use you as a lab animal in some cases and as an intelligence asset in others.
Okay, so you participated in this My Lab program, and by the way, what does My Lab stand for?
Well, that's something that I think civilian researchers created my lab, and it's MILLAB. It stands for military abductions.
Okay,
Yeah, but we always referred to it as Project Moonshadow.
okay, okay. That's interesting to know. So you participated on that. It's like they identify kids with those abilities, and they take into these military bases to be trained. So how you as a kid perceived that? So were you aware of what was going on, and your parents? How does it work?
Yes, well, they would take you and put you through training or testing or whatever, sometimes very bizarre stuff. And then at the end, they would give you refreshments, and there were psychotropic drugs in them. And then they would show you those old reel-to-reel movies. Uh, they would show you a. I remember the one that I remember because some of us would have the ability, even though they were blank slating or trying to remove memories, we had the ability to recall it anyway. It just kind of came back.
Okay.
And one of the ones I recalled was we had been training in an abandoned mall, like military type training. And then at the end of the session, they gave us the snacks and all of that. And then we're watching a movie, and the movie was of someone being guided through the Fort Worth Museum of Natural History. And all of us, when we were brought back to school, believed that we had really gone to the museum.
Okay. Okay. So you never mentioned anything at home, right? Or you just thought that you were going to field trips or weird, strange field trips, but you thought that every kid was going through that. Is that the way, more or less?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So no need to mention anything at home, as you thought that everyone was going through it.
Well, I knew that the kids that were in this program,
Okay.
that were being picked up in white vans, were going through it, but I didn't think all the other kids were. I just knew that.
Okay.
And for the memories that I had until days or weeks later, when I would get bits and pieces of what really happened, my memory was that I was picked up and had a wonderful time at the museum.
Okay. Okay. It makes sense. It makes sense. So, so you were trained from the age of 6 until 17. Is that correct?
Yeah, just before my 17th birthday.
Okay. So of course the training was they were very different from the age of 6, 8, maybe 10 until you were a teenager. It changed a lot, right? Were you trained to a specific situation or to lots of situations?
A whole lot of situations. And part of the training as we got older was way before virtual reality. And they didn't use goggles. They used neural interface, these little nodes that your body, you leaned up against the back of a chair, and these little nodes on the chairs were touching your arms and everywhere, and it leaned back, and it somehow, the images were in your head. And you would not realize that you were in virtual reality. You would actually be so immersed in the experience that you would think you were really there. So you would think you're really on a mission, or if they put you in a scary scenario, a survival scenario, which I think they did because they were sick in the head, but also training. But, they would put you in scenarios against giant spiders or werewolves or all kinds of weird stuff.
Okay, so we are talking about the early 80s, right?
Yes.
Just to make a perspective.
Yeah, that would have been from 1976 to about 1986, December of 86.
Okay. So just so people know the technology that you're talking about and to the period of time, because we talk about it in 2024, right? We are now talking about those things, and you're saying that it happened a while ago. So what happened when you turned 17?
When I was 17, I was picked up in the middle of the night from my home and brought to the same military base that we did our training. And there I was informed that I was being enlisted in a mandatory 20 and back program, to where you would go off world and sometimes out of the star system and serve 20 years of service. And then you are age regressed and put back into time around the same time that they took you. And I was informed that I was being pulled into that. And then, I did, the 20 and back. And that's when I started having memories. They had blank slated all of that or erased the memories. But after I had an eye injury and detached retina, when they did the eye surgery, it caused memory recall and threw me into a lot of confusion. And it was probably maybe 2 years after that, I contacted David Wilcock, who I talked to since 2009 about other things. And he brought me to a streaming platform, and we did 8 seasons of a television show called Cosmic Disclosure. After that, we did 2 documentaries. One is called Above Majestic, and the other is The Cosmic Secret, and they went viral. And then, I told most of my story in those settings and in my graphic novel. And then after that, that's when we started seeing all the LARPs, all the hundreds and hundreds of people saying that they were in the secret space program. The genesis of that was my television show going viral.
Okay. Oh, we are definitely going to touch that subject. First, let me just help the audience to understand what is the 20 and Back program. So when you got the news, you were 17, and so someone told you that you're going to spend 20 years somewhere, and then you're going to come back and age regress. So you're going to come back to your present time, but you're going to spend 20 years away from your friends and family. So how did you take that, and how did 20 and Back function? What did you do there?
Well, I was immediately assigned to a research vessel. I was very upset, of course, and I guess they had this problem before. The captain said he didn't want another basically crying child on his ship. It's too much of a distraction. So they took me to work with another group who interrogated and interviewed different aliens that they encountered coming in and out of our star system. After I had almost a year, I had finally acclimated, and I had a bad attitude. I wasn't very happy to be there, but I wasn't an emotional mess anymore. And then they reassigned me back to the research vessel, and I served on that. That was my base of operations. And then I was all over the place, all over the solar system, and later on I figured out we were in other star systems. So it was a part of Project Solar Warden that was set up in the 80s with technologies we had acquired and developed. And it was during that time period that we could first police our own solar system. And we didn't realize there were different alien groups coming in and stealing humans, abducting them en masse, and had been doing so for thousands and thousands of years. And we finally had the technology to protect our planet to a degree. And so Solar Warden was sort of policing the solar system. And then all of these other secret space programs kind of branched off of that mission, that first mission.
Okay, so when you get back to your 17 again, right? So you age regress, you come back to that present period, and you go to college and you have a regular life, and you find work and you get married. So life goes on, right? Without any memory or of anything that happened. Is that quite a way? And well, the memory came back later, as you said, on the eye surgery.
I had flashes of memory, and little bits of memory, but not much at all. But after the eye injury, it all flooded back, and the little pieces that I did know kind of all of a sudden connected, and it was like this building process in my head. And it, for weeks, if not months, I was just going over and trying to make sense, because your psyche, part of your psychology is you have a time reference, like from when you were born till now. They call it the 0-point reference, up until however old you are. And that's how your mind makes sense of the world and experiences and all of those types of things. And when you have 2 layers of memories over the same time period, it's a lot for your mind to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Can imagine. So when you did the show with David Wilcock, and you told your story, and you told details from the beginning, it's amazing. I watched them all. So some interesting things happen along the way, right? From the first to the last season, you were starting to remembering things, but you had some other context, right? And some repercussions on the things that you were saying at that time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was really bizarre. During that time period, we started being harassed by military helicopters and just weird things happening. Uh, People turning on our water hose in the middle of the night or shining lights through my daughter's window. Just weird harassment things. People leaving a bullet on the front window before I opened the door in the duplex we lived in at the time. We had that going on. We had all of a sudden shadow beings in our house. Our children were being harassed by these like demonic shadow beings. We had stuff like little feet walking on the roof of our house, UFOs all around. It was like just crazy active. So we were dealing with that. Of course, anyone that comes out with a story like this, all of the people, the trolls out there that are just looking for something to jump on, they all coordinated and started cyber stalking us. And we had stalkers with our family.
Yep.
We had that going on. And at the same time, I'm having these new experiences with the Blue Avians and other groups. And it was different than anything I'd ever experienced, even in the 20 and Back program. This was almost cartoonish or like too far out there. Even if you've seen different ET groups, these extra dimensional beings they felt different. They looked different. They were just something completely different. And so, in the programs, I didn't deal with extra dimensional beings or anything like that. They were discussed, but theoretically. So I started having all of these contacts, and they were giving me all of this information, which went viral all across the world. The information from the Blue Avians, and then this group that has cities within the inner Earth called the Anshar. One of their big cities was somewhat off the shore of Brazil, actually, offshore, out into the ocean, but very, very, very deep. And that's where their main city was. And they reached out and I started having contact. So, life got very weird. We were having demonic entities come in our home, shadow beings. We had poltergeist activity, things flying across. My son's remote control cars just driving around on their own. It was really bizarre stuff. But it all kind of just built up. And I was given the extent of the information that the Blue Avians and these other groups were going to give me. And the opposition I had from the negative side, trying to prevent me from putting the information out, kind of hit a crescendo. And it resulted in all sorts of crazy activity. I had lawsuits against the stalkers. We were contacting the FBI and the police. Police were patrolling our neighborhood for months at a time. It just reached a crazy level. And when I first came out with my information, I changed details just because we knew all the fakes were going to come out, and they did. And they used my terms and all of the stuff that I changed. But I knew when I came out that it was going to be dangerous, and there were threats of death threats in the beginning. But the way they neutralize a person like me is through public ridicule and destroying reputations. And that is far more successful for them than killing people. So yeah, the people that are being harassed the most, you should at least think why, wonder why.
Yeah, you're completely right. You made me remember something, because you said when I came out with that information. So at first you were posting anonymous, right? and something happened, and then you had to come out with that information. You were already talking to David Wilcock, but you haven't put out your name, right? So but you had to, something happened there, right?
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of UFO researcher types of people. David Wilcock, I started sharing information in 2009. And then I think around 2013, I contacted Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot and started giving her information, told her I had to be kept anonymous. And instead, she did a big expose video using my name, details of where I lived, and you know, the city I lived, and put my family in extreme danger. And they're the only reason. I planned on just giving researchers information anonymously.
Okay.
But this person outed me, and I was getting all sorts of death threats, crazy stuff happening around the house. That's when David Wilcock said, you know what? The best way to protect yourself is just to put it all out in public. And that's when we did the television show, and then later the 2 documentaries.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. So you were talking about all the LARPs, or that's those people that are faking that they're participating on the secret space program. So when you came out with that information, you said that people were going to do that, and you're still seeing people doing it. And another thing that it's pretty common, and I can say, of course, in our own way, me and Lyle, we go through similar stuff, because that's just how they operate, right? When you said that when you come with new information, people start using that information as their own. So that's pretty much standard all over the globe. You are going to be ridiculed, of course. That's the standard procedure for them, right? And also people around you are going to betray you at some point. So those 3 things, we go through the same thing. We watch people go through the same thing. And if you like to comment, so those 3 things, you said that it was going to happen. It happened. It is still happening. How do you deal with that? So I know you took some legal actions. Well, how do you feel about that? If you could come back in time, would you take those same measures? Would you tell people that this was going to happen? Maybe you would change the way you talk about things. Let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I absolutely. Well, I definitely wouldn't have told my story through the streaming platform I was on. Okay. They were terrible. And actively trying to steal my story. And then they started encouraging LARPs to come on the show. So I wouldn't have released it that way. I wish that David Wilcock and I had just recorded it all on our own, and then released it in different ways that had more copyright and trademark protection. Okay. Because this community, you know, about 30-40% of the people are nuttier than squirrel crap. I mean, like, they're just some nutty people. But they're also some very cunning people who, if they see someone becoming famous and making money, then they just go and mimic it. And people in this community, instead of like using their discernment and saying, "Oh, that sounds too much like this other guy's," it's entertainment. We can talk about, this is disclosure, this is a movement, this is, you know, this is my mission, but it's entertainment. We want disclosure and all of that, but the people in our positions, we have to realize that the vast majority of the people watching us, it's entertainment. And they have no loyalty to the truth. They just want to be entertained. And that's what a good deal of this community is. They're just looking for something that resonates and entertains them. And they'll jump around, and they have no loyalty to the truth. If someone tells a similar story that's obviously manufactured, as long as it's in that storyline that they like so much, they'll just go along with it. So yeah, I would have done things quite a bit differently. I quite honestly would have interacted within this community quite a bit less. I did a Unity in the Community push in 2017 and tried to bring all of these different people together. That's before I knew how many crazy people were a part of these groups. But that was the worst thing I ever did, was trying to bring everybody and unite everybody, because this information is everyone says they're anti-religion in this community, but they treat their truth, it is a religion. We're doing a television show about all of the experiences and about how humans consume this information, and how, whether it goes to the left or right side of the brain and what they do with it, and how humans are just programmed to turn things into religions and theologies. And I think different ET groups or whatever else is here on Earth are taking advantage of that to manipulate people in this community and elsewhere, to keep them away from growing and away from truth.
Yeah, I completely agree. You talked before about those 2 documentaries that you released, and it was a blast for sure. And now you're working on a series, and you were working on video games and movies. So you changed to entertainment in a way. So why is that? And what you are working on?
Well, I mean, I have thousands and thousands of people that have taken my information, fictionalized it, and are out doing books, courses, all kinds of crazy stuff, making money, and all turning on me and attacking me, saying I'm fake and they're the real ones, even though they are using my information and came out after me. It's crazy. But yeah, we just finished shooting a documentary about my family and their experiences with shadow beings and aliens and stalkers from the community, and some of the crazy personality, more famous people that we've dealt with in the community. My children tell their story. It was very chilling to listen to them tell some of these things. That documentary is going to come out at the end of this year, possibly the beginning of next year, but we think it's going to be out at the end of this year. Still kicking around the name for it. And then at the end of this year, we're going to begin shooting a television series that is about our experiences just since we came out on television, going to events, stalkers that have fixated on us, all sorts of stuff. People that we worked with that were sexually abusing women, telling them they can heal them of their traumas with their body, and tricking them. And, women that are looking for healing and growth were being taken advantage of. It happens a lot in this community. There's a bunch of different things. It's going to be an expose on kind of the underbelly of the community, but we're also going to cover the beautiful, wonderful people in the community too. It's not going to be an attack piece.
Okay. So it's okay. Go ahead. No, you were.
And also, yeah, and also,
right.
Also, we are working with a production company. We're going to do a live action television series based on my life story. And I know you know who they are, but don't say. There's a couple of really, really big A-listers who might be executive producing, and we've spoken to some pretty big writers. So hopefully it'll take about maybe 2 years to get that into production. We're having the pilot episode written. And then we have a video game that is a kind of a third-person shooter live service game. It's going to be very similar to Helldivers 2, except it's going to have a lot of the information that I've brought all throughout the game. And the game's going to connect with the television series. And also we have authors working on a sci-fi book series that it's all going to tie together. So it's a lot of work, but that's what we're working on now. And after everyone took my information and was fictionalizing it, and it just became this crazy thing, the ship had sailed. So I decided to push forward. Millions and millions and millions of people are going to see this TV show and play these games, and I'm going to be able to affect the mass consciousness on a much higher level than just dabbling around in the community.
Yeah, definitely. So you're working on two fronts, as I see. One, the true story documentaries, how things happen, your intake on that, your experience, and the other one on sci-fi and TV shows to get the information to people who don't consume. They're not in this community. They're not interested yet in this content, but they're into sci-fi and younger people that are going to have those video games, and I can see how the information is going to get to them. But my question to you is that, well, on the sci-fi part of things, I think you're pretty much safe. Everyone loves sci-fi, and you can always say that it's just based on a true story, and this is fiction, and everything's all right. But on the documentary, you're showing your family, they're giving their intake. Don't you I'm not sure if fear is the word, but I'm gonna say on lack of a better word, don't you fear more things coming into you or your family, or you're just I had it all? There's nothing they can do more than they already did.
We've pretty much had it all, between lawsuits, stalkers. My deposition was leaked, and from one of our lawsuits, where I couldn't go into court and say, I've been to outer space and I talked to 8-foot tall blue birds, I want to win my lawsuit. It's not how it works in lawsuits. They would throw it out and put me in the mental hospital. So I said, that all of this stuff was my creation, which I had tweaked stuff, and that I was trademarking it to protect it. And it was released, and people took whatever context they wanted out of it. And I think that the powers that be feel like I've been discredited thoroughly enough. And the fact that I'm doing science fiction at the same time as I'm telling the true story of what we went through, I think it's become so muddled. Everything has become such a mess from all of the attacks that I don't think they're worried. I think they're more worried right now about David Grush and some of these other people that are trying to bring information out. We've made note for our television show that the same people that cyberstalked me are now cyberstalking him and the other whistleblowers coming out. So it's all coordinated.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's coordinated, and people they don't have any idea how this game is played, how things happen. When we watch your story from outside, and then we kind in a way that we are linked in some things and doing similar things in other countries, we definitely see that it's global. It's a standard procedure all over the place. So the way you describe the community, you're describing probably the community in the US or English speaker, but I can tell you the Portuguese speakers, Spanish speakers, 100% the same. So the way that let's call them the opposition, they act is pretty much the same all over the globe. So if people really are looking for the truth and are paying attention to the way things are happening, they will see that it's the same minds applied to ridicularize anyone that tries to give information. You mentioned David Grush, so his curriculum is amazing, 100%. No one can question him. He was an intelligence officer, the U.S. Army for so many years, and now people are questioning his sanity, his information. So that's the way they go. That's the standard procedure, right? So I believe that links on the information that you plan to talk with us in September in Brazil. Is that right?
Yes, it does. From when I first started having these experiences with these extra dimensional beings in 2013, in earnest is when it happened, until now, my understanding of what I've been dealing with has changed quite a bit. And I've received briefings from people on Grush's level that, there are three things we're dealing with here. There are around 4 or 5 ET groups visiting the Earth, not constantly, but visiting Earth is the first thing they say we're dealing with. The next thing they say we're dealing with are other dimensional beings, planets just like ours in another dimension, and something's crossing over to ours. They think some of the beings and the things we're dealing with, or even Bigfoot, might even be from other dimensions that are crossing over. And then they believe that there is what they call an ultra-terrestrial presence on the Earth that is not physical. It's like a thought form. And this thought form has infected the mass consciousness of humanity, and it uses us to manifest things. And it has the ability to manifest as a gray alien, a reptilian, and a flying saucer. Apparently it used to represent itself to us as fairies and spirits of the forest when we were less sophisticated. But the government believes that most of what we're dealing with on this planet, even the abductions, is from this ultra-terrestrial presence. I don't know fully what to think about that yet, because I've had physical interaction with the Greys and the reptilians, and one of the things is the Greys, when they've had crashed vehicles, they have done autopsies on the gray aliens, and some of them seem like they were just kind of printed into this reality on an atomic level. Many of them, when they would do an autopsy, the esophagus didn't terminate into the stomach. The lungs weren't connected. The other organs weren't connected. They were just kind of there, and they just kind of mimicked human organs. So there are a lot of, it's like it was partially printed by whatever this ultra-terrestrial thing is. And extraterrestrial beings that visit here have told us that at times when they have visited here in their craft with their technology, whatever this force is has manifested its own technology and done battle with them. They don't know exactly what it is. It is some sort of highly intelligent, parasitic thought form that feeds off of our misery, hate, fear, anger. It feeds off of it, and it uses that energy to manifest. So that's something that many in the UFO community are uncomfortable with, and it's new to a lot of people. But there is a lot of what I've experienced that matches it too much. So I plan on speaking about that in much more detail, and I hope as many of you can be at the event as possible to hear this presentation.
Oh, amazing. Corey will be with us in Sao Paulo, September 21st, 22nd. We'll have the online streaming as well. And for you, if you just speak English, it will be 100% in Portuguese. But if you speak English, unfortunately, you can only watch Corey's presentation. The other ones will be in Portuguese. But anyways, we plan to maybe put some subtitles on at least a couple of presentations for you to have access to that information. So that's one thing that our channel will be doing to make that interchange of information between languages, countries, and people who are working pro disclosure. And it's something similar that you tried to do in 2017. There's something that we tried to do, Corey, and we never succeeded. And we're still trying to do. Maybe one day, I don't know.
Yeah, careful what you wish for. It was a beautiful idea. Everybody was all excited about unity, but then everybody unified, and then they just started tearing each other apart.
Yeah. In our experience in Brazil, in Portugal mainly, people started to tear everyone apart before they join each other. So we, we couldn't get a united group. Before they unite, they already started doing it. That's very unfortunate. And we know that there's a lot of influence on that. There's a lot of physical and non-physical influence on people to act like that. And in the middle of it, we could spot some people that, and we still can spot some people that were working against it from the beginning, but saying that they were pro-disclosure, right? So
Yeah.
there are a lot of people infiltrating, right? You can relate to that. So
Definitely.
yeah. So let me ask you on this final part of our conversation about some current events that are happening in the U.S. and maybe the implication on disclosure and the things on UAPs and the information that David Grush released. So you think that maybe, I don't know, the attempt assassination on President Trump and President Biden not running for re-election, do you think that how the scenario appeals to you? Do you think that is it going to have any impact on disclosure at all, or you think that things are just above the president's pay grade?
Yeah, it's above the president's pay grade, although something was definitely watching out for him during the assassination attempt, whether it be God, which I would like to believe, or something else. If you notice, several UFOs were filmed in the sky right during the assassination attempt. If you go
Okay.
online, you can find it. But the information I have is that there's no choice for disclosure. By 2027 or 2028, these things are going to start showing themselves in the sky, and you're seeing it more and more. It's going to increase exponentially between 2025 and around 2027, 2028, which is when basically these whatever this is that we're dealing with has communicated to the military that we're going to reveal ourselves. So right now, we're just going to see a pickup in disclosure, very controlled disclosure. And it's basically going to be manicuring the mass consciousness and getting us ready for this event that's supposed to be coming.
Okay.
That will be disclosure. It will be a disclosure.
Okay. Do you think that this is positive? Those ramp up on the UFOs, or you think we have more to on a negative side? Maybe I don't know, economic crash and other things that can happen.
Yeah, I think all of that's going to happen. Economic crash, a lot of other things next year. But I think that whatever is showing itself more and more, I don't know if we could label it positive or negative. It just is, and it's always been here. It's not exactly what we think it is. It's not what it presents itself as. It's something different. But and it's whatever it is, there seems to be this very beautiful angelic side and this very demonic side. So one of the big discussions is it the same entity that is both? Are these angelic against demonic type of entities that we've tried to make sense of through our religion? Even the government, they don't know exactly what it is they're dealing with. All of the people who were, conservative Christians in the military believe it's the devil. All of the people in the intelligence field believe that we're in a simulation, and whatever this is, it's the programmer interacting with the video game characters. Nobody has the same theory or idea about what it is we're dealing with. And I think that was on design. It was on purpose to confuse us.
Okay. Yeah, I like that simulation theory a lot. with some other flavors on it, but it is very interesting. So Corey, thank you very much for your time. We're looking very forward to having you in São Paulo, September 21 and 22nd. And hope to see you soon. And thank you.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing everyone in the audience.
All right. So people, bye. See you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.